Upadesamrta of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, with illumination by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Raksaka Sridhara Deva Goswami Maharaj. Text 8. Tanama Rupa Karitati Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasini Oja Tistan Vraje Tadanuragi Jananugami Kalam Nayadakilam It Upadesamrta. While residing in Vraja, under the guidance of a resident of Vrajadam, one should spend all their time engaging the mind and tongue in chanting the holy name and remembering the Lord's divine form, qualities, and pastimes. This is the essence of all instructions. Illumination by Srila Bhakti Raksaka Sridhara Deva Goswami Maharaj. There are 5 stages of the Sadika. First is the hearing stage, Shravana Dasha. The second stage is Varna Dasha, acceptance by the Guru and the disciple. Then Sadhana Dasha, the attempt for realization, will begin. This stage is full of struggle. Up to Sadhana Dasha, it is a little painful. Then Apana Dasha, the stage of realization. That is very sweet, and one feels peaceful in Bhava Bhakti. Whatever pain is seen, there is only apparent. Finally, there is Prapana Dasha, attainment, the stage of full self-surrender and distribution to others. One is finally detached from relativity and enters into that divine connection. By analysis, these are the 5 stages of sadhana bhakti. Sometimes we may be misguided into thinking that we must not study books and analyze things. Why is this knowledge necessary? Jnana is anti-devotional. What is the necessity of knowing what is what? I shall go on chanting the name, and wherever there is any lecture explaining Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita, I will avoid that. That is all knowledge. Jnani prayasam udapasha namanta eva. We may go on taking the name, and whenever there is some explanation about devotion, we try to avoid it. But this is not good, because if we hear from the proper source, we will get some sort of knowledge that gives us impetus for going on in our sadhana. When any illumination or revelation is coming through a real agent who is higher than us, we should be very earnest to hear those things. That will consolidate our position and help us to go ahead in our sadhana. That should not be eliminated as mere knowledge. That is Siddhanta. Who is Krishna? How he is Swayam Bhagavan? Who is Narayan? What are the 24 layers of misconception? What is Vaikuntha and Goloka? Who is Baladev? What are the different rasas? If all these things are being explained and I say, oh no, it is all Gyan, I must dismiss it and take the name, then this is foolishness. Such thoughts should be considered as indolence. This knowledge will advance our faith most profoundly, and such discussions should be automatically invited. 24 hours service. One Western gentleman once stated that there are many conceptions of religion in different parts of the world, but we do not find any conception of religion where 24 hours a day can be devoted to the service of the Supreme Lord. Not only Sunday, not only twice in the day, not only thrice in the day, but every hour and second devoted in the service of the Supreme Entity with nothing left behind. That is never to be found anywhere but in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. This sort of service is only possible in Kirtaniya Sadahari and in the Astakaliya Leela of Sri Krishna Chandra himself in the Madhurya Rasa. Madhurya Rasa is the total rasa and the most intense of all rasas. It is all accommodating. 24 hours engagement in the service of Krishna is only possible in Madhurya Rasa. There is the possibility of tiredness in all other rasas, even Vatsalya Ras. Sometimes the father or mother may think, I am too tired. I shall make arrangements a little later. But in Madhurya Rasa, there is no such reaction. Of course, all these things are of a very high order. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has shown, as has Kaviraj Goswami in his Govinda Lilamrita, the 8 praharas, 24 hours service. One prahara is a 4th part of a day or night. 24 hours is divided into 8 praharas, and this is known as Ashta Kaliya. Vishwanath Chakravarti has written about this in his Sri Krishna Bhavanamrita. There he has given the Ashtakaliya Leela in Radhadasham, how the she-friends and servitors of Radharani have their 24 hours duty in the camp of Radhika in her service. Radharani is already wholly given to Krishna, there is no question, and their 24 hours program is explained elaborately by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. However, Sri Krishna Bhavanamrita is for the higher students only. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also explained these things in Jivadharma, but with great caution. We have gone through Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writings, but we did not miss his warnings. We must be practical in our attempt, for such things are not imaginary. Some Westerners think that Eastern philosophy is something like imagination, so they pass through it very quickly without giving attention to so many steps. This means they are self-deceivers. One who desires real sincere improvement will not omit any steps. Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Ruchi, Asakti, then Bhava. They must be true to their own self, whether they have followed each of these steps. Ragamarg proper begins at Bhava Bhakti. Up to the awakening of real Bhava, one must follow Vaidhi Bhakti and Anartha Nivriti in order to be sure that attraction for any charm of this material world has gone altogether. But those who are self-deceivers want it very cheaply. They want to buy very cheap food without proper payment. Dhira means a master of his own senses. Only such a devotee is qualified to try to enter into this flavor, not those that are not masters of their own senses. Naita samacha rijatu, manasab I yanishvaraha, vinasya yacharam madhyad, yata rudrab dyajam visham. One who is not a great controller should never imitate the behavior of ruling personalities, even mentally. If out of foolishness an ordinary person does imitate such behavior, he will simply destroy himself, just as a person who is not Rudra would destroy himself if he tried to drink an ocean of poison. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-30. Due to ignorance, if anyone ventures to enter into this domain, even mentally, then vinashyati, he will be doomed. If he is not Shiva, if he takes poison, he is sure to die. Shiva drank poison, but it became an ornament on his throat. But one who is not Shiva, if he takes poison, he will die. One who is not Dhira and has no control over their senses, if they venture to enter into this domain, they are sure to die. This warning is given in Bhagavatam by Sukadeva Goswami. It is nectar, but still you must come and take it properly. There is a possibility of mistaking it for your awkward enjoyment, and then you will be doomed forever. The higher literatures for the highly realized souls should not be propagated in a very broad way. They are only meant for a very select few who can come up to that mark and have interest to discuss and think and work according to that high direction. But the general requirement is Shraddha for Mahaprabhu and Shraddha for Krishna consciousness. Madhurya Rasa in particular and Parakya, these two planes may be misunderstood by the general people. It is beyond their conception that we can relate with God as a wife or mistress. As a wife may be possible to accommodate, but as a mistress of God, that is impossible. The conception of Godhead and the conception of his mistress at the same time are impossible to conceive for the ordinary intellect. Who will take such a risk? Our Guru Maharaj once told us that there was one scholar in Dhaka University who used to teach Sanskrit literature to the postgraduate students, and there was one girl who was his student in that class. That gentleman was a good scholar, and he used to teach from the books written by Rupa Goswami, Ujjwala Nilamani, etc. Prabhupada objected to this. What is he teaching? This subject matter is not for school students. Only the highest religious preachers have interest in that domain, and he is taking it like this? Later, it so happened that that gentleman married that young girl. When that happened, our Guru Maharaj explained that this occurred because that fellow did not understand the dignified position of Rupa Goswami. Such high topics should not be brought to the ordinary people. It should be kept for selected people only, such as those who are on the level of Uddhava. Asamaho charna reno jusamaham sham brindavani kim api gumalata ushadinam yadushasham pajanam arya patam chahitva behir mukunda pada vimshruti birvimrigyam. My desire is to become a blade of grass or a creeper that grows in the forest of Braj. In that way, it will be possible for me to receive the dust of the feet of those great personalities who have worshipped the lotus feet of the great liberator Mukunda. The dust of the feet of these great personalities is sought after even by the Vedas. Leaving aside the affection of their own kith and kin, which is ordinarily impossible to give up, the gopis of Braj have sacrificed everything for the satisfaction of Sri Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47-61. Svaganam arya patam cha. We must be willing to sacrifice the relationships of those whom we consider to be our kith and kin, our own intimate friends. Aryapata, those who are recommended by the stalwarts or the leaders of the gregarious society, should also be given up. So much risk. Who will come forward to take such a risk? A bad name, and even the least help we can expect from our nearest and dearest, all eliminated. Taking the fullest risk to cast ourselves towards one who is an autocrat, but beautiful. Such a degree of sacrifice was considered to be the highest even by Uddhava, the greatest of the devotees, whom Krishna himself describes in his own words. Natata me prayatama. Atma yonir na shankaraha, na cha shankarshano na shrir, naivatma cha yata bhavan. Neither Brahma, nor Shiva, nor Shankarshana of Vaikuntha, nor the goddess of fortune Lakshmi Devi, nor even my own self is as dear to me as you. You are my favorite, Uddhava. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:14-15. And Uddhava speaks so highly about the gopis. Such things are not to be dragged into the ordinary intellect of the common audience. That is Shutabir Vimigyam. Even the Vedas are only showing the direction, for they cannot fully express it. It is the highest point of revelation. They can only point from a distance and show that Krishna Lila is the highest Lila on this side. We can't express that. This is the attitude of the revealed scriptures of the highest order. You should not venture to drag the whole thing into this mundane world. We must keep this on our heads. Pujala Ragapata Gaurava. The very tenor of the preaching of our Guru Maharaj was this. He worshipped the pot, the way of raga, the highest love. He did not try to bring it down here. Hold this on your head, the Ragapata, the way of love to attain him. Tread all possible stages of learning with a respectable attitude about the Supreme. Always keep the highest form of love affairs above your head. Otherwise, if you think you have obtained that, you are finished. You are doomed. It is not so cheap. Don't try to make it very cheap. It is very difficult. Samarana and Kirtana. Some acharyas are of the opinion that Samarana is more important than Kirtana because Samarana is exclusively connected with consciousness or is more concerned with the subtle part of our existence. They feel that Samarana is the most effective form of sadhana. But our Guru Maharaj, Jiva Goswami, and also Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu laid stress on Kirtana, especially for beginners. Our Guru Maharaj clearly said that Samarana in a lower position is injurious. We should take to Sankirtan. Kirtana pravave smarana haibe, sekali bhajana nirjana sambhava. Smarana can only occur by the power of Kirtana, and only at that time is solitary bhajan possible. Vaishnava K 19. When one is exclusively devoted and unconscious of the environment, then one may go on with his smarana within. but this is not at all possible for the beginners. Jiva Goswami Prabhu says, Yadyapi anya bhakti, kalau kartavya tada kirtankya bhakti, samyojanin naiva. All other forms of sadhana must be subservient to Kirtana. This is the preaching of Mahaprabhu, because in Kali Yuga, Kirtana has its own characteristic. If any acharya has stressed Smaranam anywhere, then that only means that Kirtana is relative to the material environment and Samarana is independent of material consideration. With this consciousness, they may have recommended that Samarana is highest, but this is not accepted in a general way. The Sahajiyas are fond of Samarana rather than Kirtana. They are followers of the secluded life, and in their mind, they go on with Samarana. They collect information of their age, their identification as a particular Saki, and her place of attendance in a particular Leela, under the guidance of a particular Saki in a particular place in Vrindavan. All these things. They are required to go on meditating on these things with their so-called devotion. This is the process of the Sahajiyas. But we do not attend to that practice. It is all imagination. They are not fit for that plane. They do not have any real sambandhagan or actual knowledge of their relationship with Krishna. They only go on with their habituated repetition of a particular mental speculation. The stage of anartha nivriti and the progress based on that is not to be accepted by them. That which they consider to have achieved is a mere concoction. They are not aware of the actual facts. It is all self-deception, but they think it to be Samarana. Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj has given an example. Babaji Maharaj used to live in a very small hut on the banks of the Ganges. Another gentleman, imitating him, erected a similar cottage nearby and went on imitating Babaji Maharaj, doing madhukari, sitting and meditating, wearing his cloth in such a way, eating, not eating, taking bath, and some days not taking bath. Then one day, Babaji Maharaj remarked, only by entering a labor room a girl does not produce a child. Many things are necessary beforehand. In other words, by imitating a Paramahamsa, bhajan cannot be practiced. The Sahajiyas are laboring hard externally to produce some child, but our Guru Maharaj said that it is not an easy thing. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayanaha sudurlabha pashanatma kotis vapi mahamuni. O great sage, among many millions that are liberated and perfect in the knowledge of liberation, one may actually be a devotee of Narayan. Such devotees, who are most peaceful, are extremely rare. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.14.5. Na utiya rikshopadi tantani paladari dushta pala karile arjuna. If you want to collect the fruits by shaking the tree, but not by climbing the branches, then you will only get the fruits that are bad. Kalyana Kalpataru 1.18. Imitation is not success. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that if one wants some fruits without taking the labor of climbing the tree, then what sort of fruits will he get? You have to climb the tree, and then you can get the fruit. Otherwise, it is only your imagination. Shuddha Sattva, the plane of pure goodness, means that one must have connection with the real plane. Yet there are so many planes. Upajiye Badilata Brahmanda Bedi Jaya Viraja Brahma Loka Bedi Haravyoma Paya Tabijaya Tadupariga Loka Brindavana Krishna Charana Kalpa Rikshi Pare Arohana. The creeper of devotion sprouts and begins to grow until it penetrates the coverings of the universe, crosses the Viraja river, passes through the Brahmaloka until it reaches the spiritual sky. From there, it continues to grow until it reaches Goloka Vrindavan, where it wraps around the desire tree of Krishna's lotus feet. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhulila 19.154. Mahaprabhu says that when the creeper of bhakti rises up to Goloka, she has to cross these plains, first Bhur, Bhuva, Sva, Maha, Jana, Tapa, Satyaloka, and Brahmaloka. But the Sahajas do not care to know what is Viraja, what is Brahmaloka, and what is the Brahmananda. They will only go to a guru, get some mantra, and go on meditating. But at such a stage, if they meditate on the Leela of Radha Govinda, then instead of Radha Govinda Leela, they will get entangled with the ladies and gents of this world. They will be entangled in the domain of lust and will have to go to hell instead of going up to Goloka. Imitation is not success. Imitation degrades. The mind is another thing. The mind is not Shraddha, for Shraddha is connected with the soul, and the mind is connected with matter. The mind is material. Therefore, the mind cannot produce Shraddha. Shraddha is an original, fundamental thing. When Shraddha awakens, the mind vanishes. Darkness cannot produce light. When light comes, darkness vanishes. Similarly, when truth comes, all mental speculation vanishes. There is subtle and gross. Bhumir apo nalo vayu kam mano buddhir evacha. Earth, water, fire, and air are gross, and mind, intellect, and false ego are subtle. The mind is a product of the material potency, apara shakti, and the jiva is a product of the spiritual potency, para shakti, the principal potency. Manodharma, mental speculation, has got nothing to do with truth. Manodharma is drawn from the material world, the world of misconception. Avan manasa gochara. The mind cannot reach to the stage of perceiving the truth proper. It is only related to mundane things. The mind comes from the false ego and is made up of the exploiting tendency. We have to get relief from that. We are surrounded by such poisonous thoughts. Dhanam sva dharmo niyamo yamascha, shrutam cha karmani cha sad ratani, sarve mana nigraha lakshanataha, parohi yogo manasaha samadhihi. Giving in charity, prescribed duties, observance of rules and regulations, hearing the scriptures, pious activities, and sacred vows. All these are undertaken to subdue the mind. Indeed, concentration of the mind is considered to be the greatest type of yoga. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:23-45. All types of sadhana demands that the mind should be destroyed. Mano nigraha laksanantaha. There may be different forms and types of sadhana, but they all agree on this point. The mind must be finished.